At is a Kygar reptilian here, very tall reptilian, and the pure blood royalty. The purer the DNA from the original, which is a Kygar like this, the more status they have. We're gonna get into the beginning, but I wanted to discuss what that is, or anyway, let's get into it. Where did the reptilians come from? Let's get into chapter 6 in the book Illuminati Hidden Agenda. This is illuminated knowledge that has been hidden from society, so that way they can maintain the control over their minds, the minds of humanity. Let's get into it. There are high density beings that reside in the sixth density, as mentioned before. These beings have many different names, such as Asuras, Archons, Demons, and Fallen Angels. Pause there. Egregors is another one. I probably should add there. All right, let's go back in. These Asuras are the ones that wanted to lower their frequency and have an experience in the lower densities in the matrix that they were thrown into by Mother. There was a race called the Carians, and they were a bird-like race. They were intelligent and through millions of years had evolved to bipedal. They mixed their DNA with reptilian DNA and created a bipedal reptilian physical body. I do not know why the Carians would mix their DNA with reptilian DNA. The Carians were not bad or good. They were indifferent and were only trying to tinker with DNA to see what they could create. They did not maliciously do this. However, the bipedal reptilian DNA matched for the Asuras to take interest. The Asuras started to incarnate into these bipedal reptilian bodies. Interesting that the word Aryan race sounds a lot like Carrion race. This is because many years later the Draconian race started taking the form of humans. These humans were known as the Phoenicians or the Aryans. The Draconians tinkered with the DNA of the Phoenician race, now also known as the Aryan race. This was done for the reptilian consciousness to be able to enter the physical human-looking body. They also altered the DNA of all humans, but more on that later. When looking into this, remember that the history taught has been altered for an agenda. The victors of wars are the ones that dictate what history is and what people know to be the facts in history. Pause. So the history that is known, that is taught, is the history that the victors of the war want to share. Because guess what? If you lost the war, you're not in control anymore. You cannot share. If you survived, if you lived, you may be able to tell a few people, but the controllers are going to inundate the populace with the truth. And after a couple of generations, guess what? It's what's written, it's what's said, it becomes the truth. And if you go against it, you're considered a crazy person, conspiracy theorist, so on and so forth, or even worse, back in the days, you were killed. The Draconians understood that if they wanted a certain history to be factual, they had to influence people with power to say their version of history. Then they had to encourage the people to say the same version, and then have someone who was trusted within society to write it in a book or a scroll, and just like that, they created a fact of history that fits their agenda. The less humanity knows, the easier it is to control them. The tinkering to the human DNA as a whole was happening over 12,500 years ago, but the tinkering of the Aryan bloodline for their benefit was after that, and was during Babylonian days, and was for the reptilians to take human form. We just skipped billions of years, but I wanted to mention the connection between the Aryan race and the Carians before we went on. The Asuras that were wanting and able to lower their frequency and separate a part of their consciousness to take a physical form did so and took the bipedal reptilian physical form, the Asuras took small portions of their consciousness and started entering these vessels. When the phase five when the phrase five-star physical form is mentioned, it means a physical form that has two arms and two legs and a head. In my opinion, Araman in some way managed this to happen. I do not know, but it does seem like it was what he wanted to happen, what he wanted to happen for this Asuras to spread evil throughout the universe. Let's go one more paragraph. I wanted to mention at this time that some channeled information has said that Araman and Lucifer are two separate consciousnesses. Lucifer was the one who seeded the reptilian physical body. I do not know if these two entities were separated, but let's move forward with the thought that they are the same consciousness. It does not matter if they are independent to each other or the same. As I have mentioned before, even in higher densities, there is a difference of opinions. Keep an open mind to all information and to be open to enlightened and expansion as it comes to you. So we're going to end it there, but we can see how these energies that were leaving source because they were rejected. And again, I've mentioned that in my opinion, not that I've received this information in any, form, but I think it was on purpose from Mother that originally left source, and with that whole purpose of duality and the creation of what some call the matrix or the universe or the physical or even the higher realms. They were all dropping in frequency, and there's different portions of this oscillation all together but separated in the sense of the frequency range, all part of a whole frequency, but all portions of this whole frequency, which we call densities. We need to name things, right? So, but again, we've already mentioned that is not, it doesn't exist, densities, but we need to be able to understand this better. So we say densities and how they're separated, but it's not separated. I could have a eighth density being right here. We can't see him because of the frequency mismatch. Okay, so it's all right. So I don't want to go down that road too far, but this is to understand this separation from these entities, from source, from Mother. They went down as far as they could, and then they wanted to have a physical experience, and they did it first before the other energies of the light that were going through involution. And so they had their physical body first, and they started incarnating in the reptilian physical bipedal form, which had come from the Carrion, which was a race which was higher, which was a physical form that was a kind of like a bird-like, but had evolved into a reptilian form. And as mentioned, my opinion is that Araman, who had left Mother, had something to do with this and orchestrated this to happen. But again, that you can form your own opinion about that. You can disagree. Fantastic. When I say something that is my opinion, I'll mention it. But when it's something that I have either seen firsthand or someone has channeled this information and from a higher density and brought it down to share, I'll share it all. But when it's something that is just personal to me, I'll mention it. Anyway, so that's where we are going to leave it. Starseeds, much love, and let's continue the hard work.